hopefully you can all see my screen here. And just let me know that you can definitely see the presentation that I've got up in front, because it's important, because you'll probably want to take some notes as we go through. So if somebody could just, lovely, thank you, great. So, okay, so right, let's get into this. So there's some grant funding coming up next week or the week after, I believe. So the first thing that I want to say to you is, if you're not already doing the Digital Solutions Program, definitely sign up for it, because you can see the kind of topics that we cover, anything from grant funding to digital marketing, using Canva, finance, all sorts of things. So if you're not a member, after this, go and search for Business Station and have a look at the Digital Solutions Program. So a little bit about me. I have been on the Gold Coast for it's actually 15 years now, and I've got a lot of experience in marketing, but I've also worked in a vast range of like shopping centres and government community institutes and things, so that I've had experience of gaining grant funding. I've also had personal clients as well that I've helped to get grant funding too. So that's obviously where my experience comes into this. And I've had probably about 5 grant applications that I've helped people with now that have had the funding. So I can show you sort of real life cases of this and go through it with you. So basically, there's millions of dollars in grants available every year, and they come at all times throughout the year. And the main thing is that your successful grant applications are backed by really detailed research and solid preparation. I'm going to show you how to do that. You need to make sure that you can dedicate enough time and resources to the task. So when they say that the grant funding's coming out, you need to start preparing. Don't wait until the day of it, because you won't have time. It's a bit like, I was likening it to buying concert tickets or, you know, events to see an event of some description that's really popular. If you don't start logging on at 8 o'clock in the morning to get those tickets when they go live, then there's a vast chance that you're not likely to be successful. And exactly the same with this. So in fact, on one of the occasions, and I think it was on the first round, the client I was helping to apply, she was applying, but I was sitting beside her, and they actually broke the system. So we had to wait for it to come back on. And then the second year, or last year, when they did it, we actually had a similar incident, and they actually had to delay it for several days. So if that happens, don't panic, because it is, just Google it and see if there's something wrong with the system. So just a little tip there for you. So funding, where do you get the funding from? There's so many different places. There's like ABLI there, that's the Australian Business License and Information Services. That's industry specific grants and funding. There's Queensland Government Grant Finder tools. You can just search for these. There's an Australian Government Grants and Program. And then you've got places like Grant Connect, and there was a business assistance finder under the coronavirus, so COVID-19. So it's worth signing yourself up to anywhere like the Australian or the Queensland government. There'll be federal grants, there'll be local grants, state grants, and so on. So have a good Google about where to find grants and sign yourself up for newsletters, so that when they come out, you know that they're coming out. And of course, we know that there's the Business Basics Round 4 coming out soon. So what do you need to do? Well, these are the things that we're going to look at. So over the following pages, we're going to go through these steps. But basically, as I said, you need to make yourself really familiar with all the documents in the application pack. So the minute they release it, they'll give you a couple of weeks notice. And what you need to do when you get that couple of weeks notice is to actually take the time to download all the information, read through it, look for the key words that they're talking about, and make sure you've got everything you need, including any supporting material, and that you're going to get your stat deck from a JP in the community. You should have everything that you need ready way before the day that you actually need to start that application. And as I said, it's not a day. It's if they say they open at 9 a.m, then 9 a.m. or 8:45, you've got to be sitting at your desk in front of a PC with everything ready to go where you can just copy and paste. And then you know that you're accurate on what you're doing. Now, what they'll do is when they issue it, they'll put on the website the application guidelines, terms and conditions, frequently asked questions, application sample. So they'll show you that. And then they'll say that they want a statutory declaration, which you can get from a local GP, and most shopping centres have a JP in them, so you can find out where your local JP is. You can go and get a stat dec written basically the minute you're applying. Don't leave it to the last moment, because all it's doing is saying that the funding that I'm applying for, I am actually who I say I am, and this is what I'm actually going to do with it. You're just swearing that in front of obviously somebody that is a qualified JP. So that's what we're doing with that. So, and you can download a stat deck online, or the JPs will help you with that. So, process. So we want to keep it logical and easy to read. You want to keep your answers short, and I'm going to show you some examples. We want to keep consistent, easily understood. We want to be, keep it consistent with formatting, with headlines and headers. Keep it professional looking, because imagine that an actual person is going to read this. So first of all, it's going to go through a computer system, which is why you need to read the document carefully. So you include keywords from the guidelines. So if it actually says something like that they want the funding is to use to support women in business, make sure that you use women in business as the keywords throughout your application and on every. So they're going to ask you questions throughout, and I'll show you examples of what they do. And the principles apply to all of these. So, avoid using words like hope, could, and might. Write all answers. So write unique answers to each of the questions they give you, because each question will have a slightly different twist to it. And be bold and positive, but don't exaggerate, because they are likely to do a test on who did and did not complete what they said they were going to complete. If they say get a couple of quotes, just get a couple of quotes. If they say one or two, you can just put in one. They're not after they're not going to check through any of this. They just want you to submit. And if they say, read carefully for what they're telling you, because some grant funding, they're just giving away $5,000. Now, it would be really unrealistic to imagine that a quote is going to come in at exactly $5,000. So I would suggest, if it says it's got to be over $5,000, then I would suggest you go out and you look for quotes and you get a reasonable quote that is over $5,000. Doesn't matter if it's $5,200, $5,600, $5,050, but I would look for a reasonable quote, read it carefully, and make sure that you're following what they're telling you to do. When you're writing out the actual answers to some of the questions, be bold and positive, as I said, and don't exaggerate, but demonstrate your project's likelihood of success. So kind of outline the key drivers of risk and uncertainty and how you'll manage them. And identify the range of project outcomes that may be achieved based on best to worst case scenario. So have a look through that and provide a short sort of assessment of the likelihood of any scenarios that you see can happen. And then they'll probably want you to include a budget, and you might want to, if you've used any unfamiliar terms or acronyms or anything like that, you might want to provide a glossary at the end if it gives you an opportunity to do so, because it does sometimes allow you to upload documents. So eligibility. Eligibility, what we want to do is, before you start writing your application, make sure you're eligible. So really do look through this, because I've had people go to apply for it and then realize actually that they weren't registered for GST. So if you're not earning $70,000 or more, you don't actually have to be registered for GST. So it might not actually apply to you. Now, people have asked me before, is it worth registering for GST to actually apply for the grants? That's a question for your accountant. Work out if the cost of paying what you might have to pay, because I think it's 3 months you have to be, if you say you're going to register for GST, you can reverse that, but you have to wait for 3 months. So will the amount of sales and income that you make in that 3 months be more than the $5,000 grant? Because if it's not, then it's not worth the time in doing this and turning yourself into GST registered and everything that goes with that. So have a think about it. You're going to make sure quite often that your business is under 20 employees, active ABN. Sometimes they'll say registered in Queensland, and they'll ask you for turnover as well. So that might be 300,000-400,000, something like that. So make sure that you are either under it. Depends on the grant. Sometimes you have to be over it. And sometimes when you're applying for the grant, they'll say to you, that they'll give you 10,000, but you have to spend 17,000 to get the 10,000, and you have to prove that you spent 17,000. So you're going to have to add in that 7,000 yourself. So you're partly contributing towards that. So the typical kind of business details that they ask for, pretty much they collect DESBIT, so collects this information, and basically you just want your phone number, your main point of contact, your bank details, because they're going to pay the money into your bank account. You can use industry and sector specific information you can get from their ANZIC site. And then, does your business identify as working in tourism? Sometimes they'll ask you that. And they'll want to know about your products and services that your business describes. So your turnover, they're going to ask what your expected turnover is, which is basically gross turnover. So your actual plus estimated to be earned by the business, and then your gross profit. Now, again, how do we work this out? So basically what you want to do is think of it this way: subtract the most recent period you're looking at. So maybe a month, a quarter, a year, depends how long you've been trading really. And from the prior period, so you've got to subtract the most recent one from the prior period, and then divide the result by the same period. And that would actually, so I'll give you a real life example of that. Imagine your monthly revenue for February was $1,000, and the revenue for February 22 was 950. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with subtraction, so giving a year over a year difference of $50. So basically there's $50 difference there. So divide 50 by the 950, and that will give you a growth rate of 0.05%. So then you times that by 100 and you'll get a percentage growth rate of 5%. So on average, you don't want to over impress on this one. Don't say, 20%, keep it realistic. And that's how to do it. If anybody wants to take a screenshot of that, feel free. I can even put that if you like. So let me see if I can grab. I can't grab it actually. I haven't got the ability to show that. So what I'll do is, if anybody needs that information, if you send me an email afterwards, and I'll send you how to calculate it. But it's pretty much that. You start with your revenue for 2021 and your revenue for 2022, and you subtract the year over the year. So you take $1,000 from the first year divided by the current year, and then times by 100, and that will give you the percentage difference of increase of growth. I've got a question here. Does the bank account need to be in the same name as your application? No, it's only where they're going to pay the funds into. So that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so moving on. You've got to build a strong case. So you want to present a really strong argument, give yourself the best chance of success. And because you're competing, a lot of people apply for these. And so, it's basically free money for you to build a website or get some free marketing advice or whatever. And so you want to build a really strong case for it. So to give yourself the best chance and present a convincing business case, you want to describe your business and its activities, your project idea and how it aligns with the objectives of the grant program. So as I said, remember, go through and kind of highlight the points they're making of so you make sure you're referring to that all the time. what activities and outputs your project will deliver, why your project needs funding, and why it represents value for money, how you'll be successful, how will you bring the project to completion, and the benefits of your project to the business, and include the longer term sort of broader regional and community benefits like creation of jobs, preservation of existing jobs, etc., that kind of thing. And then how your project is likely to stand out from other applicants who may be seeking funding for a similar project idea. You can also put in how you are competitive in your sector. So a grant assessor will want to see that you're serious about remaining competitive. And as I said earlier, what happens is the grant applications initially go through a computerized system, which is picking out those keywords to check you've read the documents properly. Then it will go to somebody, a human, to actually approve the grant funding. So make sure you do definitely have those keywords, because you won't get to a grant assessor otherwise. Include and explain the involvement of any third parties, e.g. financial advisors, business coaches, anything like that, and demonstrate that you've sought expert advice where you can. So if you need to get some advice on how to, you say it's a website, then ask somebody, get some recommendations from somebody that you trust. Don't just go to any agency. Do your research, look at their reviews, get some quotes, and then put in an idea of, compare apples with apples, make sure they're giving you the same things, and then that will help with your quote as well. You've done your research basically. So now what they often then do is they'll say that they'll ask you to acknowledge that you'll start the grant funding in under so many months. It's usually about 3, and then that you'll complete the grant funding in under 6 months, something like that. So, and you're going to deliver it as per the agreement. Now that's what the stack deck is for, because that's what you're agreeing to. You're complying with what they're asking you to do, and they do check. So you have to do it. I've got two clients currently waiting for an application. I don't do this anymore, by the way, it was prior. But the 2 clients I was helping on that occasion, they are still waiting for the funding to come through. And sometimes it can take ages and you think you haven't got it. And then all of a sudden you'll get an email saying, yep, you've been successful. So be patient. Okay, so I said I'd show you an example of how this kind of content should be written and what works. So here they'll say to you, describe it in under 200 words. This version here is written in 117, I think it is, something like that. I've got other examples of this as well, but basically, example of the scope of work. So this project involves the redesign and development of the Acme Pty Limited company website. Acme launched 8 months prior to COVID, and when we launched the business, we had 0 clients and very little funds for marketing. In today's competitive market, having a digital business is essential. The key to a successful website is to have easy navigation with high quality SEO-friendly content and responsive design. The funding will be used to create a new site structure with fresh new content, a blog section. The website will reflect our brand, adding credibility. Testimonials and reviews will be added to establish credibility, and an opt-in will be added to encourage visitors to leave their details. So there it's stating it very simply, and we didn't go to take up the whole 200 words. We didn't need to. This one grant funding, so this is one I can definitely say you got through. But you can see there she's used some of the keywords, like they're talking about search engine optimization, they're talking about redesign and development, they're talking about competition, and they're talking about some of the main points that help a website function properly. So do a bit of research. So then you might have a project scope that they want you to do. So put one of these together, and a scope of works typically includes these things. So you want it to include website design templates, sort of something like the activities that you're going to be including. So website design, maybe 2 to 3 design options, photography of staff, and maybe the use of new photos that complement the brand. Creation of 2,500 words of new content on a website. Just so you know, you're supposed to have 300 words of content on most pages for search engine optimization. An update of the control panel. So they call that the C panel, and that would be like your WordPress or your Shopify or whatever. And that would incorporate new designs with the new brand. And then you might want a deliverables section. So website deployed on requested domain, updated website so we can direct our clients to our page so they can see the insurance products that we offer, provide company brochures so they can be emailed to prospective clients so they can see the services that we offer. And then we've got a timeline. So we've acknowledged we understood what they said. So the website will be relaunched within 4 months of receiving the approval letter. And then measurement. How are you going to measure that what you did was successful? That's really important. We'll be able to verify the success of the grant funding through Google Analytics, which will show us traffic to the site. We will also measure the inquiries as we answer calls from new prospects asking how they heard of the business. So again, you're showing that you're measuring what you're doing. Then another example here, how's what we're doing going to enhance core skills? This is another question that they ask. Again, describe in under 200 words. This is about 100. So having a strong online presence, particularly a website, can make or break for generating more revenue. An upgrade of the website will increase credibility and enable X company to stand out from the competition. A new website will enable X competition to add new content and increase our chances of getting more leads. A new SEO optimized website will give us more chance of showing up in Google search results, therefore increasing our customer base. A new website will increase internal productivity by freeing up time to spend on assisting clients through the insurance process. So expected outcomes over the next 6 months, be original, be realistic, because if you're not, you may weaken the strength of your application. Be truthful. You may have to provide evidence of your revenue increase or your gross profit increase or your staff increase. So really not much more to say about that other than, yes, be realistic. So be truthful and accurate as you possibly can. It's just really to reiterate that if you're going to say you're going to do it, then do it. So be on the side of caution when you're giving examples. Say, if you've currently got 2 staff and you'd like to take on a third, maybe you say you take on 1 further member of staff on a part-time basis. If they end up being full-time, great, so you're trying to achieve that. And then this is about the assisting growth. So describe again in under 200 words. So a new website is critical to helping a business grow. Views, leads, subscribers, opportunities, and sales will all come from a well-designed website. We'll convert visitors to our website into leads by adding a call to action. New content will increase sales conversions. We will include pages with pictures, descriptions of the services we offer, and some testimonials from customers. We will also link reviews for our business from Google, showing how credible we are, and include testimonials. As our business scales up, opportunities for additional staff will arise. So on that occasion, she has actually taken on more staff. And when we did her second round of grant funding for a bigger grant, for a different grant, she was actually putting in there that she was looking for more members of staff. So she's definitely growing through her grant funding, as she says she is. Now, sometimes the government, they're very committed to funding appropriate services that recognise and embrace diversity. So the access and equity policy basically asks providers to reduce barriers for vulnerable Australians and make sure that diversity is not a barrier. So basically what you want to make sure is that you've got, if they're asking you any of these questions, make sure you answer them. Women in business, do you identify of any of these? People with disability, young people in business, seniors in business, culturally and linguistically diverse, And I've been studying a recent Cert 4 in training and assessment, and culturally and linguistically diverse comes up a lot in everything that we do there. And as well, people with disabilities, how can we make everything accessible to everybody, so that there's no barriers. So if you do want to study something, how do you study it? if you have a certain type of disability, you know, so how can we get around those things? So they're always really good points to talk to. And make sure as well, when you're completing this by this point, that you have actually started to already get quotes from suppliers, and you've gone out and got your stat declaration, which I'm going to show you. So we have to support with the documents. So they're going to want to know supplier's name, ABN contact details. So you get to give a quote, and it'll tell you what it wants on the quote. Then they want the details of the grant funding activity, and then you want your stat deck. So get prepared, get everything ready. What I usually do is all of the questions that they're asking, I put onto a Word document. So I literally lay it out on a Word document. So when the day of the grant funding comes up, you literally can copy, paste into the sections. So make sure you look at the example copy of it, see what the sections are, type it, then you can proof it properly in the document, in the Word document, and then you can take it from there. And then you'll just be literally copying and pasting and giving it a quick glance over, and double check everything before you submit. So this is what a stat deck looks like. It's got to be signed by a JP, and it's valid as long as the information in it is true. So basically here, I, Sarah Davis of this address, am the marketing manager of this business, and do solemnly and sincerely declare that I'm the business owner or director of the business above, and at the time of applying for the Business Basics grant program, the business has an expected turnover of $300,000 or less and meets all grant eligibility criteria outlined in the Business Basic grant guidelines, and get them to sign it. So that's it. That's all you're saying. Now that will stay valid if you keep applying for grants under with the same conditions. As long as those conditions don't change, you don't have to go and get another one, because it will apply. Okay, so is there anybody I can help with any questions? Is there anything further in this subject that anybody else wants to know? There's not really much else I can show you other than that, because the Business Basics grant is so basic. It's very easy to fill in. So when you're going to the actual website to look for the Business Basic grant, download all the documents, get yourself a Word document ready, and start to look at all the information and pull it out piece by piece and see. We can actually take a look if you like. I can come out of the presentation, stop sharing, and I will go on. I got a quote from the last one. Can I reuse it, or do I have to ask them to do another quote again? I did. You didn't get it last time because you've put no. So probably maybe just get them to redate it. That's the only thing, because it might say only applies for so long. That would be my only point on that. So let's I'm just going to escape out of my presentation here and take you. The JP only has to be done again if anything's changed. So if your business is still the same and the grant that you're applying for is the same, then no, the JP document doesn't have to be done again. It's the same, so you know you can use it. Just check that with the JP, but check it online. But I'm pretty sure you can just reuse it. It's only because it's just a statutory declaration that you are doing what you say you're doing. I'm just going to bring up the Business Basic grants. So okay, so let me share my screen again. And so this is obviously where you'd go for this Business Basics grant that's just about to be released. So launch date 10th of November, but it's opening on the 24th of November, which is next week. So it's already here. So if we click on this, we'll see now what you need to be doing. So register interest, and then you have to complete these key documents. So that's the Business Basics Grants Program, small business. The information, the application guidelines here, it tells you that if we click on this document here, it will tell us what it wants us to do. So here, with this set of grant funding, the Queensland Government provides specific supports for small business sector through the Big Plans for Small Business strategy. Applicants can apply for grant funding for grant funded activities in one of 5 priorities: training and coaching, website building and upgrades, professional business advice, strategic marketing services, and business continuity and succession. The Department of Employment, DESVET, manages the grants. So program outcomes: increase confidence for business owners, boost turnover, profit and employment, so what we talked about earlier, improve business survivability and resilience. So, you know, put that in your case. You know, how is this going to help you to remain sustainable in years to come? For this round, there are 2 funding streams based on what local government area eligible businesses are headquartered. So South East Queensland or Regional Queensland. If successful, applicants will receive upfront fixed grant funding of $5,000. Successful applicants do not have to contribute to this grant. However, successful applicants must pay for any related expenses in excess of the $5,000 grant funding. As I said, make sure your quotes are slightly over the 5,000, because it looks to me to be wrong because they're going to pay you 5,000. So I would definitely make sure they're over. Don't be exactly on. Now, so here, to be eligible, fewer than 20 employees, be operating and have an active ABN, registered for GST, have Queensland headquarters, have an expected turnover of 300,000 or less for the last financial year, not have been approved for funding under an earlier round, and have owners, directors that are not discharged, undischarged, bankrupt and be solvent. So these are the areas that they're saying. So depending on where you're based, have a good look through this. Now, what can you spend the money on? Make sure you read this. So DESVET will fund. So in training and coaching, you can get business development, marketing, human resources, or business planning topics. Training, coaching of up to 4 months in duration. Website build. So think about how that is going to relate to what they say up here. You know, they're talking about how they want here the program outcomes: increase confidence, boost turnover. So make sure you use that, highlight this bit, and then come down here and see how you can bring that into these points here. If you're building a website builder upgrade, including website refresh, make sure you're talking, get some advice. Do one of our search engine optimization websites and various other courses on here, just so you understand what goes into a website, if that's what your grant funding's for. If you're seeking professional business advice, business plans, there's plenty of advisors on the program that can help you, and all of the advisors have their own private businesses. I actually did, but I've actually stopped doing that now, and I actually work in a different area now. So, but I still do the presentation, so I'm afraid I'm not one of them, but there are plenty of others out there that are on the scheme that can give you advice and give you quotes as well. If you're going to do professional business advice, you know, your business plans, make sure you get some help, and through the program you could get some help to do that, but you haven't got long because you've only got until the 24th, and you've got to start applying on the 24th. Cybersecurity is a big one as well. So obviously, especially with the Optus and Medibank going on at the moment, then it'll tell you what it won't. So a cost of less than 5,000. So essentially, be careful, make sure your quotes are over. And they will not fund these kind of services. So make sure you read all of those and don't include them. What are the time frames? So read through this part here and how you can apply. So registration of interest will be 9 AM Thursday the 24th of November and close on Monday the 5th of December. DESVET gave notice of the grant opening date and supplied supporting documents on the 10th of November. Apply here. So Business Basics. So we go to here and we open the link. So we're back to where we were earlier, grant funding, available funding. It will probably want you to set up a Smarty Grants. So registration of interest, expand, full application there, complete your application. And then it's going to show you previous rounds, key documents and stuff. So have a really good read through all of this information and make sure you follow it all through. My agent quoted 5,500. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, including GST? No, because it's got to be excluding GST and you're smack on 5,000. So no, that looks too false to me. Do 5,012, 5,150 or something plus GST. There's no way that if any business knows you're going for grant funding, don't tell them. Or at least if you're telling them that you need to add some services to it that will allow you to include all of those things for just over $5,000. Do it that way. But you can also, you could use one supplier, and then I've had this happen where you can get a quote from a supplier and something changes, maybe they no longer can help you. You can still have the grant funding and use it, you just can use a different supplier as long as you can say you did what you said you're going to do with the money. It doesn't matter, you're just putting in a quote. And sometimes they say to you they just want 1 or 2 quotes, sometimes they'll say under 2 quotes. Just read it and see what it says in there. Okay, is there anything else I can help anybody with? Anything that you'd like to know more about? I do actually have another example of an application. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'm just going to pull up a... I'm just looking to see if I've got another set of example questions that I can show you that might help you with this. Okay, I can share this with you. So let me just share my screen again. Okay, so this is another way. So when they say they might just outline how they want things to be done. So future planning, for example, the business commissions a business plan based on evidence to assess diversifying its operations to meet potential growth opportunities and maximize financial returns. Specialized and automated software, the business is expanding quickly and needs a real-time inventory system to speed up operations and meet delivery expectations. Staff management, developing and planning. The business is experiencing growth, but it's finding it challenging to attract staff, build skills, and effectively manage the workforce. They commission a training program lasting at most 12 months to build the skills of their staff. So there's all sorts of ways that you can write the answers to the questions. And I suggest you kind of look at that and investigate that. Just always here. So describe your business or your services. It must be no more than 100 words. Provide a description of the proposed activity. Must be no more than 300 words. So there will always be guidance on what you should do. How will it improve efficiency? And how will your project assist your business to grow? So for a hint here, describe the 3 things that you want your project to achieve in terms of benefit participants and others. So the community, the wider audience, how more staff helps, so it will speed up. By building a new website, you can add in maybe software that will help to take the weight off some of your existing staff and allow you to operate in new areas which will grow your business, those kind of things. So get some advice and definitely go with that. So, okay. Question: if my project meets a few of their key criteria, should I include this or focus on one? No, if focus on all three. If it's meeting several, mention several. That's definitely a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know my colleague Isabel Sheffield is also running a grants workshop, so see if there's any others. You might want to get some more tips from someone else, and just see how you go. But good luck, and just you can see how simple it is. You just need to. You don't have to overcomplicate it. Just answer their questions. That's all, and don't over promise and under deliver. Okay, so that's it for me, I think, for today. I'll see you on another occasion at another time. This is obviously recorded, so you'll get a recording of it. And I wish you all the best with your applications. No worries. Okay, bye.